Okay, I'm going to talk about this lockdown that we're currently under. About 90% of Americans have been ordered to stay home. 90% of America, 297 million people. 297 million people locked down. And look, there's only one, two, three, four, five, about 5 states that are not under lockdown. That means, well, first of all, you're put under lockdown by your quote unquote governor. That's who has the lockdown order. This guy right here, the governor of California, puts 40 million people on lockdown. One guy puts 40 million people on lockdown. Now here we have, there's a governor here. So just count these states. Let's say it's about 45 states have 297 million people on lockdown. So how do 45 people, think about it, 45 people, how do they tell 297 million people what to do? And you do it. How is it possible that first of all, back in the day, 45 people couldn't even communicate with 297 million people. So one way that they've done it is by creating this mass media, this mass communication system, which is made to talk at you 100%. Obviously, you can't talk back to it like you can in a telephone. So when you look at media and you look at why it was created for this right here. It wasn't created for entertainment. It wasn't created for Ed Sullivan. It wasn't created for Game of Thrones. It was created so that 45 people could tell 297 million people what to do. Now, secondly, and more importantly, how could one guy know what's right for 40 million people? How could Gavin Newsom or something, how could this guy right here, claims to be the governor, how could he decide what's right for 40 million people? First off, if you really believe as a human being that you can make a decision for 40 million people, you're psycho. You are psycho. 100% psycho. If you've ever been in a relationship, just try to make a decision for your partner without consulting them. You'll be wrong a lot of the time. I'm not saying all the time. Obviously, you know your partner pretty well, or you're supposed to. And just take 5 coworkers. Try to make a decision for 5 coworkers and see what they say. Just take the initiative and just make a decision for 5 coworkers. Just doesn't matter what it is, and say, hey, look, for your birthday, I'm going to play you this song because I think you'll love this song. Or I'm going to get you this style of cake because I think you're going to love this cake. I'm going to get you this food because I think you're going to love this food, for 5 different people. You might not even be able to do it. And if you can, well, then I'll just take it up to 25. And then I'll take it up to 50. And then I'll take it up to 100. Then take it up to 150. So imagine deciding a song to play for 150 people. 150 different people, you got to play a song that they're all going to love. They're all going to be okay with. They're all going to think is great. Could you do it? No, of course not. So how does this guy think that he can make a decision for 40 million people? He doesn't. He's not making it for you. See how he's standing in front of this Voyageur right here? This little sign right here, this is Voyageur. Voice you is any line, dot, or color made by man. So this drawing is made up of lines, and see this drawing here? Look at these. These letters are made up of lines. There's a bunch of lines. There's colors there. Look, standing in front of these colors with the lines on it. That's part of their shtick. They use voice-you to represent something that's not there, and then say they're in control of it. This has been going on for 30,000 years, people. People like this have been ruling over us for 30,000 years. People like this have been making decisions for us, people, just normal people, normal everyday people, for 30,000 years. That's why this guy thinks he can do it, because he's in league. Him and his buddies are controlling everything. Him and his buddies are controlling everything. Here's some of his buddies. See, these are state buddies here. Look at this. This guy's his buddy. This guy's his buddy. Look, they're dressed the same. Look at this. They're calling themselves the same thing. He's calling himself a mayor, a governor, a leader. He's calling himself a leader. And then guess who they're backed by? Violent individuals. Violent individuals. Your order to stay home, your order to stay in place, your order to shelter down is an order, which means if you don't follow it, guess what? You can be violenced. You can 100% be violenced by these individuals. 100% be violenced. You can be violenced 100% by these individuals. 100%. So if you don't listen to this guy, you'll be violenced. If you don't listen to this guy, you'll be violenced. Here we go out in California. Here's a guy just paddleboarding on the ocean. You want to talk about quarantine? This guy's by himself, way farther than 6 feet away from anybody. And guess what happens? That's right. They roll up on him to violence him. Stiff consequences. Surfer cited for look at this guy. Look, they got 2 boats on this guy. You're out there? Well, I told you not to be out there. I told you not to be out there. And look what happens when you go out there. You get violenced. I told you not to be out on the golf course. You're arrested. And what happens? What happens if you resist arrest? Think about it. If you just went, you know what? I'm playing golf, buddy. I can play golf if I want to. What happens? You resist arrest. You go, you know what? I'm playing golf. No, I'm not going to be arrested. Guess what happens? You get beat. You get choked. Eric Garner choked to death on the street, supposedly resisting arrest. So your stay-at-home order is not just a suggestion. It's not a, hey, you want to agree with me and stay at home? No, it's me telling you what to do under threat of violence. So if you want to know how 45 guys are making 297 million people stay home, it's through violence. Violence. You're getting violenced. Now, how did these people get the ability? That's what I'm saying this because if you think this guy's working for you, if you think you elected this guy and he's going to help you out, if you think this guy's acting in your best interest, you are so wrong. You are absolutely mistaken. If you think that this guy is here for you, you are not even close to what's going on in this country and this world. So where did this guy get his power of violence from? How did he rise to the point where he can command 40 million people? Well, you have to go back to the fact that every state is made up of counties. This is a county in Kansas. Every state is made up of counties. Okay, so when you have a governor, he's a governor over a state. This state is a conglomeration of counties. This state right here, Gavin Newsom state, is a conglomeration of counties. Now, what is a county? So the governor resides over every county in the state. Okay? Now, what is a county? A county is a drawn line. This is something called Kewaunee County. It's a county is a series of drawn lines that have divisions in them, that divide things up, that you start counting. Count is just a place to count stuff. So where do you count stuff? In the county. So how many rivers are in my county? I'm counting them. How many are there? Well, there's 5. There's one right here, one right here, one right. How many people are in my county? How many people do you count in my county? Well, we count, 30,000. Now, how much land is in my county? How much land do you count in my county? So here's the land right here. Well, it's 10,000 acres, 50 square miles. Doesn't matter. A county is a place where you draw lines around it and then you start counting in it. And the person who is over the counties is a governor. That's what you have here. Now, where did these counties come from? How did they develop? How does this guy get to rule over all that's counted? This is how, right here. These people started off in caves 30,000 years ago. 38,000, 30,000. I'm just saying 30,000, but it's about 30 to 40,000 years ago. 30,000 years ago, these people were in caves in Europe. Okay? They started counting back then using voisin. They invented voisin. Any line, dot, or color made by man is voisin. They invented it. They made it. They came up with it. And I say they, meaning the Black Death cult. This is a cult of death here that came up with this stuff because they use violence and death as a means of control. And the first people they violenced were Neanderthal. They killed Neanderthal, they just wiped them out, made them extinct. And since then, they've just been on a killing spree. Think about it. They wiped out 75 to 80% of the Hawaiian population. They wiped out 80% of the Native American population. They've wiped out Incas. They've wiped out Mayans. They've wiped out the Aztecs. They wiped out, like I said, the American Indians. They wiped out Hawaiians. They wiped out Maori tribes in New Zealand. They wiped out Aborigines in Australia. They've wiped out they have killed every race of people on this planet. And they have been on a non-stop death hunt since back in the days when they were drawing on these cave walls. This is a county right here. Look at this. This is the first drawings of maps right here. Look, there's a form, right? The form here, and then it's divided up into smaller pieces. Then you what? You count the pieces. You count what's here. Now, back then, they may not have invented a number system as complex as what they have now, but they had a way of representing the division. Look, here's the lines. Here's the lines. This is divided. This is a separate area. Look over here. Here's one that's divided, and then here's a solid area. Then look, here's one that's divided into smaller areas, and then it's divided in the middle into smaller areas, divided in the middle, smaller areas here. See, this one doesn't have the same division in the middle. It's solid in the middle. See that? See how this is divided here, but this is not? This is all planned out divisions. Lines with divisions in them. Lines with divisions in them. Lines with divisions in them. Look at this. Here, see how this is kind of sideways and the lines are dividing it, and then there's a river here. Yeah, look. Here's some lines kind of sideways, turning, cut like this. Here's a line kind of curved and sideways, and then it's cut like this. See this? Look at this. See this area right here? This is a modern day representation of it, 30,000 years later. So in 30,000 years, of course they got more advanced than this. This is the blueprint. This is the original maps of the world. This is the original way that these sick individuals that called the Black Death Cult divided up the world right here. And another thing you have to understand about these drawings is they were not accessible to you. Just like what this guy says behind closed doors. First of all, you ever talk to this guy? Has anybody in his state talked to him? Out of the 40 million people, how many people get to talk to this guy? 200? Just even say 5,000. There's 40 million people in this state. If he had 5,000 friends and 5,000 people that were, conferring with him, that's not very many out of 40 million people. Even if he had 10,000 people he was talking to. He's got 40 million people he's controlling. You were not allowed to see these drawings. These drawings were deep inside of a cave. He says right here, we're close as we continued down the rocky chute. By now, it had taken us nearly 3 hours to walk and often crawl through the 1 kilometer long labyrinth. He's talking about this cave right here and how long it took him to get back here. So it took him from here took him 3 hours. 3 hours. You think that a normal person is going to crawl 3 hours into a hidden location and see what's there? Of course not. You were not allowed to go back there. You were invited back there by your buddies. Just like this guy right here is telling his buddies, I'm putting 40 million people on lockdown. The 40 million people don't get to hear about it till later when he comes out of the cave and goes, hey, everybody, you're on lockdown. But when he's back in this cave with his buddies, you don't get to see what's going on. Where do you think this map was drawn up? You think this map was drawn up in the public square in front of everybody? Of course not. This map is from 1882. How many people do you think saw this map get drawn up? Not many. Not many. Just like back then, they draw this, nobody saw it. Nobody of the general public, not a huge amount of people. A very small amount of people, this is where they were, back in the cave, very small amount of people crawled in through here, walked all the way over here, walked all the way over here, walked all the way up here, and drew it right in here in this little inlet right here. And who did they show it to? They showed it to their buddies. They showed it to their buddies. See this? See this black death cult machine back here? You know how secretive this machine was when it came out? This is a B-2 bomber. You know how secretive this was? This was some of the most secret technology on the planet. But guess who got to know about it? All these guys and their buddy. These were some of the most secretive drawings on the planet. Guess who got to know about it? All these guys and their buddy. It's just, you have to go back 20,000 years to what all these guys and their buddies look like. And you're never going to know what they looked like. You're never going to know. They keep changing their, let's say, identity. They keep changing their form, if you will. They're notorious liars. I mean, the Black Death cult is filled with notorious liars. So they'll tell you, "Oh, I'm good. I'm a religious guy." Spanish Inquisition. "Oh, I'm good. I'm here for the good of God." And they torture the hell out of you. They tell Galileo, "You're under house arrest." Spanish Inquisition. It's all written down. The horrors that they performed on man. "Oh, we're crusaders. We're out here for good." And just go slaughter people. "Oh, we're the king. I'm the king. I'm here to help you." And then he brings his men in and kills you and takes all your land. "We're the United States government. We're here to help you." And then they kill every Native American that they want to. Every Native American that goes there, they just kill them. "We're here to help you." Then just kill them. "We're here to give you a better way of life." Then they just kill them. So these people keep changing their identity. So you don't have to keep track of their identity because you're never going to be able to do it. What you have to keep track of is their voice. Voice is any line, dot, or color made by man. So if you look at this guy who's in charge of 40 million people, there's his voice right there. He's standing in front of this voice. Look at this guy. See this? This is voice. See these patches? They're real small on the camera, but these patches are voice. See this? This is voice. See this? This is voice. Made by man. These are color. She's wearing a color made by man. See this guy? He's standing in front of his voice. This is the same guy right here. See his voice behind him? Now he's got his voice in front of him. See that? Any line, dot, or color made by man. And he's standing here lying. He's going to lie through his teeth. Everybody knows politicians lie, right? You know that, right? That's a guaranteed fact. Politicians lie constantly. They're Black Death cult. That's why they keep lying to you. They're Black Death cult. They are notorious liars. "Oh, I know what's best for 40 million people." No, he doesn't. That's a lie. That's an absolute 100% lie. What's really going on is him and his buddies are telling you, me, and 297 other million people what to do. And if we don't do it, then guess what? We're going to be violenced. We're going to be arrested. We're going to be seized. That's how it works. That's how America works. That's how this country works right now. This whole country. And, by the way, the whole civilized world. If you think about it, every country, once again, counting, count, tree. What's in my country? States. What are my states made of? Counties. Where I'm counting. How much do I have in here? How many people do I have in my county? How many people do I have in my country? How many people am I in control of? "Well, sir, you're in control of 40 million people." Okay, lock them down. Tell them they can't. I'm going to tell them they can't go anywhere. And if they go anywhere, I want you to arrest them. If they go anywhere, I want you to. And if they don't go with you, if they don't listen to what you say, you have my full permission to violence them. The same thing happened back here. This is the first voice. They drew these little maps. They drew these little symbols, and then they divided up. This is a division. And if something went on here they didn't like, They would violence you. They would kill you. When something went on here that they didn't like with Neanderthal, guess what they did? They killed him. They wiped him out. If something went on in here with the Aborigines they didn't like, guess what they did? They killed them. If something went on here with Native Americans they didn't like, in this particular space they called the United States of America, guess what they did? They killed them. They destroyed them. So you have to understand, in my opinion, that's just my opinion, you don't have to understand it. You can live your life without understanding any of this. Believe me, this guy wants you to live your life without understanding any of this. The Black Death Cult wants you to live your life without understanding anything about them. They want to hide behind their voyou, and they want to hide behind their violence. And they never want you to know who they are. Ever. So if you really want to kind of understand what's going on in the world, just take a look at how one guy controls 40 million people, how 45 guys control 297 million people. And once again, they do it by dividing you up, counting you, claiming they're in control of you. Now, because they counted you, you're their resource. And if you don't do exactly what they tell you to do, they will violence you. So I'm hoping one day we can get beyond the violence. I'm praying that one day we can get beyond the violence. And I think that when we do get beyond the violence and get beyond these Black Death Cult members controlling us through violence, that we could find a place that we're going to find a lot more comfortable, a lot more pleasant, a lot more reasonable, a lot more understanding. But until then, there's not a lot of hope.